When the annual cycle concludes and their birthday approaches, an unmistakable phenomenon occurs. The external world, with its predictable rhythm of expectation, gears up for a torrent of celebration. Loud music, obligatory photos, social media announcements, and the universal demand for happiness and visible joy. Yet the chosen ones perform a silent retreat. They drop off the digital grid, allow invitations to expire unanswered, and consciously choose a deep, intentional stillness. To those watching from the outside, this withdrawal often registers as an enigma, a cold shoulder, a sign of detachment, or even a sudden melancholy that seems out of place on a day meant for revelry. What the outside world fails to grasp is that this retreat is not a symptom of emotional distress or an expression of misplaced ego. It is, in fact, a deeply sacred shift unfolding beneath the veneer of silence. For an individual who walks a distinct path, a birthday is fundamentally more than a simple chronological marker. It functions as an invisible door, a precise threshold between the timeline that has concluded and the one that is about to begin. It is the moment when a spiritual confirmation, a quiet, profound whisper from the divine, descends. You have successfully navigated another complete cycle. Now, it is time to cross with purpose into the next. While the majority chase the fleeting gratification found in external noise and distraction, the chosen ones instinctively withdraw into a profound state of presence. Their spirit is not hungry for validation or attention. Its deepest craving is for alignment. Days before the calendar even flips, their soul begins to register the subtle yet weighty pressure of time's turning, a sensation akin to an impending, powerful storm that only their spiritual essence can detect. This innate spiritual sensitivity is what mandates their withdrawal from the very distractions the world uses to celebrate. As their peers surround themselves with the clamor of celebration, the chosen ones consciously elect to stand still. This stillness is an active, demanding process, a time to listen deeply, to feel the internal shifts, and to execute a radical spiritual reset. It is crucial to understand that this is not a passive act of isolation or withdrawal from life. Rather, it is a demanding process of sacred reprogramming, a divine recalibration between the self that served its purpose in the past year and the elevated being that is currently emerging. Every single year, as the birthday approaches, something vital and deep within their core stirs and awakens. This inner awakening is of a nature that cannot be adequately expressed or fully comprehended by anyone else. Today we are going to pull back the curtain and illuminate the profound, hidden meaning that drives this recurring silence. We will unpack the 6 core, secret truths of those chosen individuals who feel a powerful compulsion to forego typical birthday celebrations. Their quiet day is, in reality, a source of spiritual power far exceeding the energy of any 1,000 cheers. If you recognize yourself in this description, if you are one of those who consistently feels this inexplicable pull towards stillness on your day, it is imperative that you absorb this message in its entirety. What is revealed here will finally provide the complete, coherent explanation for that feeling you've carried, but could never adequately articulate. It is time to finally demystify and understand the true power contained within your personal silence. Before we delve into the core truths, take a moment to engage with this message. Like this video, ensure you're subscribed for future insights, and please leave a comment below with the number 99. The number DMath BF $99 is significant in spiritual mathematics. It symbolizes divine completion, a universal signal that a major cycle in your life is drawing to a purposeful close, and that a new, sacred beginning is imminently poised to unfold. For those on a chosen path, birthdays are not mere data points on a calendar's grid. They are profound thresholds, spiritual pressure doors where the fundamental atmosphere changes. The light refracts differently, and the inner soul clearly discerns the echoing footsteps of its future self approaching. Long before the superficial world even acknowledges the date, the chosen one's internal environment begins an unavoidable shift. Sleep takes on a deeper, more restorative quality, and seemingly random, long-forgotten memories surge to the surface. These memories act like sealed letters that have finally reached their intended recipient. Old scenes from the past year are replayed in the mind, not to inflict pain, but to starkly highlight what must be purged and released before the next major assignment from the divine can be delivered and accepted. While their physical bodies continue to move through the motions of daily life, their spirit is already firmly positioned at the border of the new year, metaphorically standing with palms open, waiting and listening. This is the primary reason for their withdrawal. It is not a defensive reaction, because they find people draining, but a necessary response because the volume of external sound becomes intolerable when the voice of heaven is simultaneously attempting to whisper precise instructions directly to the soul. During this period of sacred withdrawal, the heart effectively transforms into a command center. Previously invisible behavioral and energetic patterns reveal themselves with startling clarity in the quiet. They analyze deeply who genuinely invested spiritual energy into them, who conversely was an energetic drain, what habits fostered their spiritual gifts and anointing, and which habits caused that anointing to subtly leak away. They begin to perceive timelines not as linear events, but as threads held intricately in the hand of the divine. One thread is being neatly tied off, signifying completion, while a brand new thread is simultaneously being gently pulled from an unseen, celestial spool. This focused reflection is not an exercise in sentimental nostalgia. It is the activation of pure, powerful spiritual intelligence. When a significant cycle is closing, the energetic field surrounding the chosen one becomes intensely charged. This heightened charge has the dual effect of attracting both razor-sharp clarity and potent spiritual interference. Therefore, the chosen one consciously and strategically steps back. They severely restrict external conversations, refuse to prematurely announce the imminent shift, and instead focus all their energy on thorough preparation. This preparation is often physical as well as spiritual. They may clean and organize their living space with meticulous care, understanding that making space physically can dramatically alter their spiritual fate. They organize digital files, systematically delete old, stagnant messages, and diligently finish all outstanding, unsettled tasks. This is far more than mere superstition. It is a profound commitment to precision, acknowledging that the divine often rewards and favors order. They intentionally refine their prayers, moving away from generalized wish lists and concentrating them into a laser-focused spiritual intention. Their new focus is not a plea of "give me this," but a powerful declaration of "please shape me for what is to come." They must also process a subtle, bittersweet grief, the quiet funeral for the former version of themselves that successfully carried them to this boundary line, but can travel no further. Following this necessary process of release, a strange and potent sense of peace descends, the unshakable knowing that the next compelling chapter is already fully written, merely waiting for their spiritual agreement to manifest. This is why the loud, effusive noise of a party feels utterly foreign and discordant. How could one possibly explain to a room full of well-wishers that one's very bones can register the palpable turning of the cosmic calendar? How to articulate that their spirit is listening for the quiet click of a massive, destined lock opening in the expansive hallway of their future? On the precise eve of their birthday, the chosen one can intensely feel the architectural structure of their entire calling beginning to rearrange itself. People in their lives shift into newly assigned, destined roles. Significant opportunities rotate into perfect alignment, much like celestial constellations, and old, worn-out desires fall away, much like leaves out of season. Even fundamental appetites change. Their cravings gravitate toward purer sustenance, and the type of music they can tolerate becomes highly refined. Their sensitivity increases dramatically to the unspoken energy in words, to the quality of physical spaces, and to the true, underlying motives of those around them. This heightened state is not a sign of fragility. It is, in fact, calibration. The soul is meticulously tuning itself to a fundamentally higher spiritual frequency, so that the critically important, quiet instructions from the divine are not drowned out or missed in the inevitable static of the world. And within that deliberate, essential hush, the divine begins the intimate process of numbering the next year with a bone-deep, unmistakable clarity. Instructions are downloaded: what to actively build, what must be adamantly refused, where precisely to plant their energy, and which bridges must be decisively burned, yet blessed from a loving distance. Their characteristic silence is never an indication of loneliness. It is a process of consecration under construction. It is a sacred staging ground, where invisible hands, angels and guides, are rearranging the furniture of destiny, a process entirely imperceptible to the human eye. The chosen one possesses the unique ability to feel the doorway of their future before it physically swings open. They stand there completely steady, spiritually sober and fully ready, knowing that when the clock finally strikes midnight, it will not just be a typical happy birthday, it will be the powerful, resonant sound of deployment begins. Pause for a single, profound second, and simply hold your breath. Do you sense it too? That subtle, gentle pressure in the room, a feeling of the very atmosphere leaning in close. Good, do not move. The second core truth explains why that potent pressure is not a sign of warning, but an unmistakable, profound welcome. Most people, by cultural default, celebrate their birthdays because they harbor a fundamental need to be seen. They crave the external warmth of attention, the temporary rush of validation, and the simple comfort of knowing that anyone remembered their existence. However, the chosen ones have already endured and processed the profound spiritual lessons learned in the wilderness of invisibility. They have walked through desolate seasons where no one offered applause, no text messages arrived, and where their existence seemed to be completely unnoticed and uncared for. It was in that profound silence and isolation that they encountered and absorbed the only applause that truly matters, the quiet, deeply felt well done that is intimately whispered by heaven itself. This is why, when their birthday inevitably arrives, they no longer feel the desperate need to chase external recognition. They have spiritually outgrown the need for human approval because they have learned a powerful foundational truth. Fulfilling their purpose does not, under any circumstances, require a visible audience. Their intrinsic worth was not gifted but forged in the unseen, crucible places, in the darkest nights spent praying with tears instead of surrounded by balloons, and in the profound spiritual wrestling matches with the divine instead of dancing under bright, external lights. The world's conditioning taught them that to be loved meant to be visible and celebrated publicly. But the divine instruction taught them that to be chosen frequently means being temporarily hidden. They came to the profound understanding that validation sourced from people dissipates as quickly as the ephemeral candlelight on a cake. Conversely, divine validation, that eternal indelible stamp placed directly upon the soul, never ever fades. The deeper their spirit grew, the more perfectly they understood this spiritual economy. Every birthday that went unacknowledged or felt personally unnoticed was not a slight. It was meticulous training. Every year that passed in spiritual obscurity was heaven's precise method of teaching them the fundamental secret of how to truly shine without relying on applause. The unwavering truth is, when human beings stop noticing your efforts, the divine often begins the process of quietly and powerfully promoting you. God strategically removes the noise and distraction so that you can hear the powerful, affirming echo of his own approval resonating clearly in the resulting silence. And that pure silence, once feared, becomes profoundly addictive. It is not a magnet for loneliness, but a space of absolute purity, free of masks, pretense, performance, or pretending, leaving only presence. They no longer feel the need to broadcast carefully curated pictures to try and prove their worth. They do not require comments or likes to confirm their inherent value. They have realized that the most powerful, true celebration does not occur when others choose to honor their day, but when they can sit in comfortable solitude and still feel entirely whole and complete. The chosen ones have achieved a level of emotional and spiritual maturity where seeking applause feels small, almost like a cheap distraction. Their heart no longer leaps nervously at the prospect of attention. It rests in unshakable assurance. They have spiritually outgrown the deep-seated need for people to validate their existence because they know, with absolute certainty, that heaven has already witnessed and acknowledged every single hardship they endured to reach this exact moment. And here is the profound mystery that the superficial world will never grasp. The quieter their birthdays became, the exponentially louder their spiritual authority grew. Because every single year they consciously choose stillness over external spectacle. They are effectively sending an unshakable message to the divine. Your presence and purpose matter infinitely more than the applause of the crowd. And heaven responds by opening spectacular doors that no human connection or influence could ever unlock. That is the fundamental paradox. The precise moment they ceased chasing external validation was the moment they became spiritually and emotionally unshakable. So when they deliberately skip the party, it should not be misinterpreted as a simple act of rejection. It is an act of elevation. It is not a sign of sadness. It is a declaration of sovereignty. They are no longer waiting to be celebrated by the transient crowd, because they have, through their disciplined silence, already become the very celebration. They stand as living, breathing proof that an identity carefully built and refined in silence can never be destroyed by external noise. Every candle they intentionally choose not to light becomes a potent symbol of the intense guiding light they now carry and sustain within their own core. They no longer require people to provide confirmation of their personal growth. Their spirit has already internalized and processed that knowledge. And when the midnight hour arrives, they do not make a whimsical wish. They make an internal, absolute declaration. I am enough. I was intentionally chosen. I do not need to be physically seen to be spiritually significant. That is the essential secret the world simply lacks the decryption key to understand. The chosen ones no longer need the loud presence of a crowd to feel fully alive. Because the moment they stopped needing to be explicitly noticed, the divine began to take immediate notice. And now something even more profound and mysterious begins to unfold, a spiritual reality that only a rare few souls ever personally experience. The third core truth reveals why their solitude on this sacred day is not a mark of emptiness, but the critical period of preparation for divine recalibration. For the chosen ones, a birthday is not an open invitation to be passively entertained. It is an unmissable command to radically realign. While the superficial world dances obliviously under the temporary glare of external lights, they perceive and sense a sacred electricity humming powerfully beneath the surface of their own skin. It is a subtle, yet utterly undeniable, spiritual vibration within their soul that whispers with absolute conviction. Something old must successfully die so that something higher and more powerful can be born. Their birthday, therefore, is not a careless festivity. It is a complete, essential reset, a precise recalibration of the energetic frequencies that exist between their individual spirit and their grand destiny. Every single candle they deliberately choose not to light becomes an inward spark, igniting a deeper, more profound inner transformation. They are not passively avoiding life's responsibilities. They are actively and fiercely purifying it. In these profoundly sacred hours, they feel the unmistakable touch of the divine hand, reaching deeply into the energetic circuitry of their very being, actively adjusting, meticulously rewiring, and intensely refining. This is precisely why they experience an overwhelming craving for solitude, an urge to fast from external stimuli, or a desperate need for deep, uninterrupted reflection. They sense an urgent spiritual necessity to meticulously cleanse their physical space. They feel compelled to throw away anything stagnant, to physically reorganize the unseen psychic atmosphere that surrounds them, because they know with absolute certainty that energy does not lie. Every physical object, every lingering memory, every word that has been spoken within their home retains an indelible vibration. And when a powerful new spiritual cycle is set to begin, that existing vibration must perfectly match the energy of the emerging new version of themselves. Therefore, they move with meticulous grace and intention through their entire birthday like priests tending to a sacred temple, which is their own life. Their prayers are focused not on a plea to be simply blessed, but on a plea to be aligned. They may fast, not as an act of superficial suffering, but as a deliberate choice to sharpen their discernment to a razor's edge. They intensely journal to meticulously extract the hidden codes of the past year. Every unexpected betrayal, every small or grand miracle, every crucial, hidden message that was once buried deep within the chaos is brought to light. This is because, to the chosen one, absolutely nothing that happens is random. Every single tear shed carried valuable data. Every frustrating delay carried a crucial encrypted message. And when their birthday arrives, they systematically decode it all. This is why they strategically distance themselves from the noise. This distance is not rooted in arrogance or pride, but in fundamental necessity. The spiritual download must be received with absolute clarity. The successful launch of the next phase of their mission is completely dependent upon it. While others choose to drink in order to forget the past, the chosen ones intentionally go utterly still to remember. They remember who they are at their core, where their spiritual sustenance truly originates, and the exact task the divine has entrusted them to complete in the coming year. Their deep silence is never a sign of emptiness. It is the critical phase of preparation for the next divine assignment. They can physically sense the old, worn frequency desperately trying to cling to them, the habits that no longer serve their path, the attachments that have lost their original purpose, and the negative thought patterns that constantly drain their power. Their birthday becomes an absolute line in the sand where they make a different, powerful choice. They actively break invisible agreements they made with past pain, intentionally release people who no longer resonate with their rising frequency, and consciously welcome the powerful new vibration of incoming strength. And as they execute this deep spiritual work, the entire universe responds. Opportunities miraculously begin to shift into place. Vital connections realign themselves. A profound, unshakable clarity settles deep within their chest. The kind of absolute certainty that can only be born from total obedience to divine timing. The chosen ones possess the innate understanding that heaven meticulously updates their destiny, much like constantly updating crucial software. Each new year of life carries its own unique, fresh codes, and if they fail to execute this annual, required reset, they face the high risk of attempting to run their immense spiritual mission on outdated instructions. This is why they make the deliberate choice to step back from everything external. They are actively sinking deep with their source. They allow the divine to fully erase old, limiting scripts from their spirit, overwrite their pervasive fears with power, and successfully install an entirely fresh, compelling vision. It is not dramatic spiritual theater. It is essential divine maintenance. And while the world is busy celebrating mere survival, the chosen ones are celebrating strategy, because they perfectly understand that the ultimate goal is not just to live another 12 months. The goal is to vibrate substantially higher within that next cycle. Their profound silence is a sacred ceremony. Their deep stillness is an intense, active conversation. They intentionally speak less because they are committed to listening more. And what they are currently hearing are the very blueprints for the immediate future. The chosen ones treat each passing birthday as a major reset button pressed by heaven itself. This is not an instruction to simply start over from scratch, but a command to start much deeper. It is not an escape from the demands of life, but a new opportunity to command it from an amplified place of spiritual authority. So, if you ever find yourself wondering why they inexplicably vanish when the candles are being brought out, it is simply because they are profoundly busy becoming the next version of themselves, the elevated, pure version that destiny has been patiently waiting for. And in the midst of that complete transformation lies a secret that only a few will ever notice. The moment they stop being celebrated by the transient crowd, the entire creation itself begins to celebrate them. Because when they intensely realign their own personal energy, the entire universe subtly adjusts its orbit to accommodate their new frequency. Now stay absolutely present, because the next core truth reveals something even more mysterious. It explains how the very nature of time feels radically different for them, and why every passing year only serves to exponentially multiply their inherent spiritual weight. To the chosen ones, time is not a simple mechanical clock. It is a profound living covenant. They do not keep score of their years by counting simple numbers, but by accurately measuring the assignments successfully completed. Every passing birthday is not a heavy reminder that life is slipping away. It is an immediate, powerful confirmation that heaven still deems them trustworthy enough to handle more responsibility and more power. While others casually measure their age in the flickering of candles, the chosen ones measure theirs in accrued wisdom, in spiritual mileage gained, and in the deep scars that have now become the indelible blueprints for their next mission. The chosen ones walk the earth with a strange, palpable awareness that time itself possesses a personality, that it is watching them, subtly testing their resolve, and occasionally bending its linear progression around them when the demands of their purpose absolutely require it. This is why they simply cannot afford to take their birthdays lightly. They feel a powerful spiritual gravity in the very atmosphere that others mistakenly confuse for common melancholy. This sensation is not a sign of sadness. It is the undeniable presence of sacred pressure. Heaven gently presses down on their shoulders, whispering with profound gravity, "You must not waste this next cycle. Every single hour is vital." This feeling is not rooted in a debilitating fear of running out of time. It is born from a deep reverence for the immense potential that each new year fundamentally carries within it. Each cycle of 12 months arrives meticulously encoded with specific assignments, challenging lessons, key people, and temporary portals. Some are meant to be decisively walked through, while others are meant to be closed forever. And the chosen one knows that even a single misstep can create a domino effect, delaying entire destinies, not just their own. Their internal awareness of time is fundamentally prophetic. They can vividly feel when something is spiritually expiring long before it physically occurs. They sense divine deadlines echoing in their spirit, not as a source of draining anxiety, but as an undeniable result of spiritual accuracy. When others casually speak the words "next year," the chosen ones feel the immediate, subtle vibration of that statement and instinctively know if the crucial window of opportunity will still be open, or if it will have been decisively sealed. That is how exquisitely and finely tuned they are to the true mechanics of divine timing. And because of this profound, heightened awareness, they live life radically differently. Their pace is consistently intentional. Their silence is always strategic. They no longer rush impulsively into things just to superficially prove their progress to others. They practice profound patience and wait for complete alignment, because they have learned through hard-won experience that being on time according to heaven's vast calendar is exponentially more powerful than being unnecessarily early according to man's limited perception. They fully understand that every new year granted in life is a powerful invitation, not an instruction to simply add more tasks or commitments, but a call to intensely refine what already exists. So when their birthday inevitably arrives, they do not attempt to escape reality. They simply listen. They listen intently for codes, for detailed assignments, for key names that resonate in their spirit. They journal, not to record personal memories, but to record direct marching orders. They know with absolute certainty that heaven does not grant time freely or carelessly. It grants time with profound purposefulness. So when they wake up on their birthday, their very first conscious act is to whisper a profound, private, "Thank you for trusting me with another whole year." Because for the chosen, another year of life is not a given. It means another chapter that heaven fully expects them to write in perfect obedience. They do not view themselves as simply growing older. They perceive themselves as growing sharper, spiritually closer to their source, and inherently lighter. They feel the grains of time slipping through their fingers differently, because their spirit operates on a plane far beyond its basic measure. They have been meticulously trained by both searing pain and guiding prophecy to fundamentally understand that destiny is not about the finite length of your life, but about the profound depth with which you fulfill what you were specifically sent to Earth to accomplish. This deep, intense awareness can make their birthdays a time that is profoundly bittersweet. There is immense joy, yes, but there is an equally strong sense of sacred urgency. They can sense the next complete set of instructions already forming in the unseen, etheric realm. They can almost audibly hear celestial pens scratching on divine parchment, meticulously writing the next definitive phase of their journey. That is why so many of them find themselves inexplicably crying on their birthday without a rational understanding of why. Their soul intensely feels the weight of another crucial mission being loaded onto their shoulders. It is not a symptom of depression. It is a sign of intense divine sensitivity. Every year that successfully passes, Their vital connection to eternity intensifies and strengthens, while their fragile attachment to linear time subtly weakens. They begin to care much less about raw numbers and substantially more about lasting impact. They begin to truly grasp the profound wisdom in the ancient request, "Teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom." The chosen ones know that to genuinely number your days is to treat each one as a single, sacred piece of eternity skillfully disguised as temporary time. They sense that certain years are specifically designated for massive expansion, while others are necessary for deep stillness. Some are for intentional planting, while others are for abundant harvesting. But crucially, none are random. Absolutely none are ever wasted. Even the quietest years, the ones that superficially looked like nothing significant happened, become the concrete foundations for the years where everything happens at once. The chosen ones possess the spiritual sensitivity to keenly feel when those powerful pivot years are finally arriving. Their dreams become more vivid and symbolic. Their personal atmosphere thickens with potential, and they instinctively know that heaven is accelerating something powerful that remains unseen. So they intentionally step into each new birthday, not with a sense of fear, but with deep reverence. They are not simply getting older. They are actively becoming more precise instruments of the divine will. And deep within their core, they possess the intuitive understanding that time itself ultimately bows to purpose. When purpose is completely fulfilled, time seems to expand and stretch limitlessly. When purpose is recklessly ignored, time mercilessly collapses. That is why they meticulously guard their hours as if they were incredibly rare, spiritual diamonds. Because for them, to carelessly waste time now would be to profoundly disrespect destiny itself. And as the clock ticks closer to midnight, the chosen ones often find themselves staring blankly at nothing, yet simultaneously feeling absolutely everything. Their heart rate slows, their breathing steadies into a rhythm, and somewhere in the sacred space between the seconds they sense it, the constant, powerful pulse of eternity echoing directly through their very veins. That is the moment the powerful realization dawns. They were never intended to desperately chase time. They were destined to consciously become timeless. Stay right here, because what comes next perfectly explains why their chosen solitude on this sacred day is not isolation at all. It is, in its purest form, divine protection, the powerful, essential shield placed between their expanding, growing light and the invisible eyes that are quietly watching it. The very instant a chosen one's birthday officially arrives, a significant, unseen phenomenon occurs in the spiritual atmosphere. Their light, which is usually deeply steady and highly controlled, suddenly flares brighter. Heaven sends an immediate signal, acknowledging another completed cycle. Another mission successfully survived, and another year of challenging obedience under immense pressure. However, this intensified brightness does not simply attract more blessings. It also powerfully draws invisible eyes, because light, by its fundamental nature, exposes everything that attempts to hide in the spiritual dark. And the crucial truth is, not everyone who closely observes a chosen one's life watches with genuine love or pure intentions. That is the core reason they fiercely protect their energy, as if it were a sacred, unquenchable fire. What most people casually label as paranoia, the chosen ones immediately identify as highly developed discernment. They have learned through experience that visibility is a sharp, double-edged sword. The exact same light that genuinely inspires the pure of heart will deeply irritate and provoke the envious. Every celebratory post, every public announcement, every deeply personal moment shared publicly becomes an irresistible signal flare in the highly sensitive spiritual realm. And not every spirit that clearly perceives that flare is rejoicing. The chosen ones fully grasp this profound reality. They have distinctly felt the strange, debilitating heaviness that inevitably follows whenever they overexpose their genuine joy. They have noticed how certain people predictably reappear around their significant milestones, their words sounding superficially supportive but carrying an undetectable, invisible static, a frequency of interference. The chosen ones no longer dare to ignore that frequency. Their spirit has been meticulously trained by painful betrayal, fiercely refined by years of navigating false smiles, and intensely matured by the isolation of loneliness. They can literally feel the energy shift in a room long before a single word is spoken. On their birthday, precisely when their aura is burning its brightest, their spiritual perimeter tightens automatically. They choose to go intensely quiet, not to be superficially mysterious, but as a deliberate act to remain uncontaminated. They do not loudly share their deeply held plans. They decisively seal them. They do not broadcast their exact physical location. They allow the divine to hide them in plain sight, because they know this is the exact spiritual moment when unseen watchers take meticulous notes, and when energetic thieves wait patiently for a momentary open gate. So, they ruthlessly shut that gate, not out of crippling fear, but out of profound, practical wisdom. They may appear withdrawn to the external world, but behind that deliberate stillness there is immense, concentrated power. Their silence effectively transforms into their unshakable shield. While others celebrate by excitedly expanding their energy outward into the crowd, the chosen ones contract deeply inward, anchoring themselves fiercely in the presence of the one source that has never once betrayed them. They pray, not with a loud theatrical voice, but with deep, resonant depth. They cover themselves with powerful declarations, with protective scripture, and with sacred protection codes that instantly fortify their entire atmosphere. Some light solitary candles. Some walk barefoot directly on the earth. Others simply sit in profound darkness and breathe deeply, until unshakable peace fills every single corner of their being. Whatever the specific ritual, the core intention is always the same: to diligently guard the pure frequency of their soul from any and all interference. Because the core truth is, spiritual energy is currency. Wherever concentrated attention flows, focused energy immediately follows. The chosen ones have lived long enough to know, without a shadow of a doubt, that not every single wish of happy birthday is energetically clean. Some are unfortunately laced with corrosive jealousy, while others are driven by curiosity that dangerously borders on energetic intrusion. That is why they have perfected the spiritual art of invisibility. They no longer grant the external world unfiltered access to their most sacred internal seasons anymore. They do not announce what is currently blooming in their life. They let it bloom in deep silence, and then elegantly surprise those who previously doubted them. There is an ancient, unwritten law deeply woven into their spirit: do not reveal until it is completely rooted. And birthdays are precisely the time when their spiritual roots go the deepest. They fiercely protect that necessary process. Every quiet moment they spend in profound solitude instantly becomes spiritual armor. Every single breath of gratitude they exhale becomes a potent weapon against the corrosive effect of envy. Every whispered prayer sets a clear boundary line that darkness cannot possibly cross. Some might label this approach as extreme, but those who have intimately walked through intense spiritual warfare fully understand this dynamic.